streetwise passion to their music. They are called Intro, and they're brand new, and we have them for you today on Video Soul. Now, when I came on saying, wow, they were just telling me about what their last 3-4 days have been like.
What really happened to Kenny Greene? The late R&B legend and frontman of Intro had it all: talent, hits, and a voice that could melt hearts. But behind the fame was a painful secret that the industry worked hard to keep quiet. But not anymore. An ex-lover and former bandmate are now stepping up to expose the hidden details about Kenny's passing, and it's making waves. From battles with illness to industry betrayal, Kenny paid the ultimate price for living his truth, and people are finally finding out about it. Just why was he pushed out when he was just getting started? And how deep did the cover-up go? Let's find out. So Kenny passed away on October 1st, 2001 in New York City at the age of 32. He had been fighting a long battle with AIDS behind the scenes that fans only found out a few days before his passing. During an interview with Sister 2 Sister magazine, about a month before he took his final breaths, Kenny made the shocking revelation, along with the fact that he was bisexual. He said, "I've known for a long time, but it's just, I sprained my ankle and this ball came under my foot like a bruise, and it just swelled up to the size of a tennis ball. I was walking around on it, and I should have got help from the VA hospital. Yeah, I was a soldier. I'm not active now, but I was in for 3 years. I was in the Army. I should have went to the VA hospital and got it taken care of it, but I didn't know what it was. It's called Kaposi's sarcoma. It's an AIDS-related disease. There's no strength in my legs, because I've laid in this bed so long. Yeah, I'm homosexual. Well, I'm bisexual. I had 2 girlfriends. Mind you, that confession was nothing short of difficult. Kenny was vulnerable, and that came with risks. See, he took the stage with Intro during a time when the industry was absolutely cruel to people like him. Remember, this was the early 90s. Hollywood wasn't churning out queer media like it is today. Homosexuality was still taboo. In fact, it wouldn't be wrong to assume that when Kenny hit the stage, there were almost no black gay actors or musicians in the mainstream media. To make things worse, the black community was largely homophobic. One person explained the reasons behind it best, writing, "The black population is overwhelmingly puritanical, due almost entirely to the big brother-like presence and importance of the church in our history and culture. Black people are frighteningly homophobic mostly because black masculinity in this country has historically been linked to his ability to procreate. The more women a black man got pregnant, the more valuable he was to the master and the economy of this country. Sexuality and virility in black men is intrinsically linked to economics. But more interestingly, our puritanical pariah-like faith is a direct response to our oppressors who said one thing in the name of God and did the exact opposite. For black people, it wasn't about lip service, but real spirituality and faith. Mind you, Kenny Greene was a high-profile figure making sensual music. If the public found out that he was gay, it would have created an uproar. But for Kenny, that didn't matter. He wanted to raise his voice about the struggles black queer musicians faced away from the shadows, and so he chose to go public with his HIV diagnosis and sexuality. And here's where things get messy. See, fans didn't find out about this secret of his until 2001, but in Hollywood, it's basically the higher-ups' job to find out an artist's deepest, darkest secrets and exploit them. And it seems like that's exactly what they did to Kenny. They found out the truth and they pushed him aside. See, when Intro popped up on the scene with their self-titled debut album, they absolutely killed it. The record received gold certification and peaked at number 11 on the top R&B albums charts in the United States. With songs like Let Me Be the One and Ribbon in the Sky, the 3-member band brought something new to the table. In fact, the record's lead single, Love Thang, peaked at number 11 on the bubbling under Hot 100 and number 28 on the Hot R&B Songs charts.
The very first hit from them, it's called Love Thang on Video Soul. Really? All right, we're back on Video Soul. That was Intro. That's their brand new video, first video. Yeah. Now you telling Kenny that's a 3-hour job.
That was 3 hours. Eddie know that was 3 hours.
Now when you say you write a song in 3 hours, music and lyrics?
Music and I mean, we get in the studio like with Eddie or with Dave.
Vibe with the producers.
Vibe with the producers, and it's like quick, real quick.
The group's second album, New Life, was a hit as well, peaking at number 16 on the top R&B albums charts in the United States. But here's the thing, most of that success came thanks to Kenny.
Kenny has like the ill talent. He's like the road runner, and we like tags along. But
they're the Coyotes right now. Right now.
We're tagging along. We're tagging along.
But
we collaborate.
Yeah, we collaborate a lot. I'm saying I'm giving him his credit right now because he did a lot.
because writing is a gift. Everyone, you know, if you write, everyone has a certain level as far as the talent. And I write just a little faster.
His writing and arranging abilities were simply out of this world. According to Buddy Wyke, the group's producer and co-founder, the whole chemistry of Intro was, I was the producer, Kenny was the songwriter, and Jeff was the choreographer. Prior to Intro, when I first met Kenny, when we sat down for the first time, I sat at the piano and played some chords. Just right off the bat, he'd start coming with lyrics. Anytime I'd play some chords, it could be whatever, he had the answer for it. He also said, as far as being an R&B artist, that was beyond my wildest dreams. I taught Kenny piano, and he taught me how to sing. And that's why it's not a surprise that Kenny and Dave Jam Hall, the man who produced Mary J. Blige's What's the 411 and much of Madonna's Bedtime Stories, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for ASCAP's Songwriter of the Year in 1993. In fact, remember Mary J. Blige's Reminisce and Love No Limit? You can thank Kenny for the genius behind that as well. And so it's safe to assume that the group was on the verge of making it big thanks to Kenny. But guess what Intro's label did instead? Atlantic Records started pushing them out. They began focusing their energies on newer talents like the Braxtons, while leaving these three boys on their own. Their third album was shelved without any explanation, and fans believe that a lot of it had to do with Kenny. See, the running theory is that the big bosses found out about his secret and chose to shut him out of the industry because of it. Why? Well, they didn't approve of his way of life. Of course, the label never admitted to the discrimination, but fans could see beyond the vague lies and deception. Besides, what label suspends their best man for allegedly mouthing off during a national interview with a DJ? It's what they did to Kenny. Apparently, this was right around the time when the symptoms of the disease were getting worse. The constant fatigue made it difficult for him to work and do promo. During one particular interview, Kenny had his head down, and the radio DJ asked Kenny was acting strange. Kenny said he didn't feel like talking right now. Obviously, they had an argument because Kenny had a hood and shades on. They felt they had to do something and put Kenny on vacation or a short suspension from the group, so the work on their solo album stalled. And it honestly screams control. Not to mention that over the years, Greene took on a more creative role in the band's production, especially after his father's passing. He wanted to create more personal, emotional music, but Atlanta never supported him, all because they weren't interested in telling his story. The result? A tragic end to a group that promised incredible potential. For a while, Intro held on, hoping to push past the obstacles, but then the inevitable happened. Kenny passed away, which left a huge creative and emotional void. According to Buddy, he was unable to perform with Intro for a while after Kenny passed away. He said, I just shut down when he passed. It was a great time of my life, and I looked at it like it was an era in my life, and that was pretty much it. As far as performing, that's it. I didn't really want to do it anymore without him. That was definitely a big blow to my heart. A lot of my creative ideas and juices I was feeding off of Kenny. There was a lot we were writing together. When Kenny passed, a part of my creativity I felt like had left with him. He also said, there are a lot of songs me and him wrote together that I'd never do with anybody else out of respect to him. I'm careful of that. He was a really good dude. Besides being one of the most prolific songwriters of our generation, he was really a good dude. He was my little brother. And so it's no surprise that with Kenny gone, the group more or less fell off the map. He was their secret weapon, their spark, and without him, they were lost. According to Bucky, they tried to stay active for the sake of performing and producing music. But let's be real, it wasn't the same without Kenny. In Bucky's words, R.I.P. to Kenny Greene. Shout out to Jeff Sanders and to Eddie F. and the whole Untouchables family. Post-intro, we've still been on the road doing the 90s circuit concerts. There was a whole time where we didn't even go out and perform. During the early 2000s, we were just home chilling and working on new music. I did a gospel album for a lady named Phyllis Stevens, who has a very successful son who goes by the name of John Legend. I've been in the studio building up a catalog. Then the phone started ringing for us to do shows. The fact that Kenny's passing created such a void speaks a lot about his influence on the group, especially considering that the band members weren't on good terms when they found out about Kenny's diagnosis. See, when Kenny started getting skinnier and skinnier because of his disease, Jeff Sanders and Buddy asked him if he was eating all right, and well, that's when he came clean to them. Now, they didn't exactly disapprove of Kenny's way of life. However, they did want Kenny to protect himself, but Kenny never listened to their advice. He refused to believe that his boyfriend could give it to him, and at first blamed one of his ex-girlfriends and continued to do unprotected acts with the man, and he checked himself into the VA hospital and was bedridden. Still, the boys cared for him. Buddy would bring him food to keep his strength up. Jeff came to visit him a few times, but not as much as Buddy, because it was hard seeing his friend like that after he told him numerous times about the risks. The other guys even bought condoms for him and AIDS and HIV pamphlets, but instead of listening, he tore them up and blaming the other members for not really caring for him. Maybe if the industry didn't actively try to kick him to the curb and offered support instead, things would have turned out differently. No one can blame Kenny for how he acted. He was pushed pushed into a corner and left with no lifeline. At the end of the day, Kenny went through a lot in his career. The industry mistreated him for who he was, but he still chose to live out his truth, and that's nothing short of inspiring. Let us know what you think about Kenny's journey and the industry's role in his passing in the comment section below, and make sure to check out the next video.